Hello BookTube. Today I'm doing part 12 of my science fiction and fantasy library tour. Obviously yesterday I made a mistake and called yesterday's video the 10th when it should have been the 11th. But it was the 11th and this is the 12th. Today we're wrapping up the bookcase my brother made for me a year and a half ago. So this one will be a little long, maybe. And then we'll move on to some shorter shelves tomorrow. And I should finish this off Christmas Eve. So we've got 3 more tomorrow, which should take care of this bookcase here by the end of the week. And then we'll have these 2 shelves Monday and Tuesday of next week, which will hit on Christmas Eve. And then Christmas Day, if I make a video, will be my December book haul. So let's begin with the books. So first of all, we continue from where we left off yesterday with some Michael Moorcock. This is Count Brass. The first book of the Chronicles of Castle Brass. I want to say I picked that up from the Friends of the Library Booksell Nook. This is Champion of Garethorn, the second book. This is The Bull and the Spear, the 4th book. And then we move from there to a few omnibuses. This is Hawkmoon. It's an omnibus edition that includes The Jewel in the Skull, the Maggod's Amulet, the Sword of the Dawn, and the Rune Staff. Yeah, I ordered it from... I'm not entirely sure where I ordered it from. Came from a Libris regardless. And this is Dancers at the End of Time. Another omnibus edition including An Alien Heat, The HoloLands, and The End of All Songs. And these editions are, I guess, omnibus editions that kind of collect all of Moorcock's work in The Tale of the Eternal Champion. So Hawkmoon was volume 3, and this is volume 7. And I wrap up Michael Moorcock with Tales from the End of Time, which I want to say is a continuation of the Dancers at the End of Time. And these books include Legends from the End of Time and The Messiah at the End of Time. So from Moorcock, we move on to C.L. Moore. This is Judgment Night, a collection of stories. I picked these all up from the Friends of the Library book sale a few years ago. And this contains Judgment Night, Paradise Street, Promised Land, The Code, and Heir Apparent. Oh, these are more like short novels than they are short stories. And next I have Northwest Smith, again by C.L. Moore, and Jirel of Jory by C.L. Moore. Jirel of Jory is one of the earliest sword and sorcery characters, and I think certainly the first female sword and sorcery character who was the protagonist of her own stories. No, I've been looking forward to getting to those for a while. Next we have Hero by Perry Moore, which I've had this for a few years and I really need to give it a bit more of a reading than I have previously. Next I have 2 books by Sylvia Moreno Garcia, Signal to Noise, and her latest book, Gods of Jade and Shadow, which I really need to get to. And next we move on to Richard K. Morgan. This is The Still Remains. Book 1 in, I think it's called A Land Fit for Heroes trilogy. And I have volume 2. Yeah. The Cold Commands in a hardcover edition, which I bought from Alibris. For my library book, it's from Pentwater Township Library in Pentwater, Michigan. I think that, yeah. Or maybe Mississippi. I need to look in the state abbreviations. Next is Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir, which is one of the books I'm planning on reading this month. And then we have The Song of All by Tina LeCount Myers. More Than This by Patrick Ness, which is a really good standalone YA science fiction novel. I read it, about 5 or 6 years ago, and really enjoyed it, and because it was up for some prize along with A Tale for the Time Being by, I want to say it's Ruth Ozeki. And I kind of like this one better than I did A Tale for the Time Being, although A Tale for the Time Being won the specific prize it was up for. And then we have Winter of Ice and Iron by Rachel Neumeier. And now we have some Peter Newman books. This is The Vagrant, which is really good. The Malice. And finally, The Seven. These are all part of the Vagrant trilogy. I'm looking forward to getting back to them. And we wrap up Peter Newman with The Deathless, which I'm not entirely sure this ever got an American release, because I picked this up from Book Depository. This was like my second or third Book Depository purchase. And this is Knights of Viljamore by Mark Charon Newton, which is a former library book from South Shore Public Library. This is Larry Niven's The Ringworld Engineers, which I'm pretty sure came from not entirely sure where it came. I mean, it's a former used library book, but I can't tell where it came from. But I think I bought it from the Friends at the Library Book Sale Book Nook. Andre Norton's Starborn. Love that cover. Quiet Keep, again by Andre Norton. And The Beastmaster by Andre Norton, which I want to say, again with the no idea where it came from. But I picked this up from the Friends of the Library book sale, so it had to come from somewhere in Central Texas. We move on to Megan O'Keefe's Velocity Weapon, which I read for Space Opera September, and I didn't quite like this one as much as I did some of the others. But I'll come back to it and give it another reading, maybe in a few months. This is David Mogo, David Mogo God Hunter by Suyi Davies Okunbawa. Looking forward to reading this one. This is a Hef Resurrection Blues by Daniel Jose Older. Urban fantasy. This is an anthology of heroic fantasy edited by Gerald W. Page and Hank Reinhardt. And this is Joshua Palmateer's The Throne of Amancore, which I got from Thomas of SF-180. He had an extra copy, and he put it up for like there was one you could like do a giveaway for, and I won the giveaway. We had a little accident of the books stacked up. So, anyway, we're down now to the last deck. This is Aragorn, which I picked up from Friends of the Library Book Sale Nook. And it's obviously the movie edition. Not entirely sure why I still have it, though. But I'll need to read it eventually. 16 Ways to Defend a Walled City by K.J. Parker. Looking forward to getting to this one. Next we have the Gormenghast trilogy by Mervyn Peake, Titus Groan, Gormenghast, and Titus Alone. Picked these all up from the Friends of the Library Book Sale alcove. Next we have what might be the worst science fiction novel I've ever read. Dryland's End by Felice Picano. It is just bad. I mean, it's incredibly campy. It's about your standard space opera epic, where in this case there's a galactic or universal matriarchy of which humans and several other allied species are a part of. And they're currently at war with a race with rebel machines who've developed a virus that essentially renders women infertile. And in order to combat this virus, our heroes have to travel to this distant planet. I'm assuming human colonists were there before the matriarchy and then promptly lost their technology to try to find this scientist. And comes to find out he gets around the whole infertility issue by giving men wombs themselves. And it's ridiculous and just, yeah, I do not like this novel at all. I mean, I might give it another read eventually. It's been like over 10 years since I've read it. But yeah, it's just, yeah, not my favorite space opera ever. And next, we wrap this up by the Stone Dance of the Chameleon trilogy by Ricardo Pinto. This is The Chosen, Book 1, which I picked up from the Friends of the Library mini book sale, I think. And then we have The Standing Dead, which is Book 2, which is from Waco Library and Genealogy Center. Yeah. Which I picked up from, I think, the next Friends of the Library book sale. And then I picked up the final volume, The Third God, from PALS through Alibris. So that wraps up part 12 of my science fiction and fantasy library tour. I will see you tomorrow with part 13. Thank you, BookTube.